There comes a time when the silence of the world becomes a spiritual battlefield. It's when the clocks strike midnight and the veil between the visible and the invisible grows thin. At that moment, many feel an inexplicable heaviness in their surroundings, a restlessness in their hearts, as if something were trying to steal the peace of their home and the rest of their soul. This is precisely where the power of the Psalm 91 prayer comes in, a spiritual weapon so powerful that no force of darkness can resist it. Have you ever wondered why so many people report waking up suddenly at midnight with their heart racing for no apparent reason? Many think it's simply insomnia, but ancient sages and men of faith knew midnight is the hour of spiritual visitation. It's the time when invisible attacks intensify. It's when the enemy tries to infiltrate fear, discouragement, and confusion. But it's also the perfect time for those who know the power of the Word to rise up and fight back with faith. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because it's no coincidence that you're here. If you're listening to this message, it's because the Holy Spirit wants to awaken something within you. He wants you to discover the secret of Psalm 91, a prayer of protection that isn't just pretty words, but a real, invisible shield capable of disarming every opposing force that tries to attack you in the night. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will abide under the shadow of the Almighty. These words are not poetry, they are a spiritual decree. When you speak them in faith, you activate a wall of light around you. It's as if a heavenly army has risen up and said, "Not here. This territory is protected by the Most High." Imagine this for a moment. While the world sleeps and darkness moves silently, angels are stationed around your home, forming an invisible barrier against every spiritual attack, against every arrow of envy, against every negative energy sent to strike you. This is how Psalm 91 works. It protects not only the body, but also the mind, spirit, and even dreams. But there's one detail few know: the power of time. At midnight, prayers have a special power. It was at midnight that Paul and Silas prayed inside the prison and the chains fell off. It was at midnight that God freed the people of Israel from Egypt. It's as if at this precise point between the end and the beginning of the day, heaven bends down to hear those who cry out in faith. So when you get up at midnight, even if you're sleepy, even if you're tired, and open your mouth to proclaim Psalm 91, something begins to change in the spiritual world. You may not see it with your physical eyes, but you will feel the atmosphere shift. Fear begins to give way to peace, spiritual oppression begins to be broken, and the enemy who thought he had dominion begins to retreat, because the light of the Word is stronger than any darkness. But be careful, it's not enough to simply recite the words mechanically. This prayer must be done with total surrender, with true faith, with the certainty that the Almighty hears you. And when this conviction enters your heart, nothing can stop you. Not envy, not curses, not words to the contrary. For centuries, men and women of faith have used Psalm 91 as an invisible shield. In times of war, plagues, pestilence, and persecution, it has been the fortress of those who refuse to give in to fear. And today, you can do the same. You can declare, "1,000 may fall at my side and 10,000 at my right hand, but it will not come near me." This is not a vague promise, it is a spiritual assurance. When fear strikes, when bad news knocks at the door, remember, whoever takes refuge in the Most High's hiding place will not be touched by evil. And if something is oppressing you right now, restless sleep, constant nightmares, a feeling of heaviness in your home, negative thoughts, it's a sign that this prayer needs to be said today. Because midnight isn't just an hour, it's a spiritual gateway, and whoever learns to pray at this time becomes invincible. So prepare the environment, dim the lights, take a deep breath, and close your eyes. Imagine a golden light descending from above, covering your entire being, and begin to declare with a firm voice and a confident heart, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will abide under the shadow of the Almighty."
Feel the words echo not just on your lips, but within your soul. Feel God's presence enveloping you, dispelling all fear, all anxiety, all heavy energy. With each verse, a chain is broken. With each word, a bond is undone. Because the power of Psalm 91 is not just in the text, but in the faith of those who say it. And as you pray, something happens in the heavens. The enemy begins to retreat. Doors that were closed begin to open. The weight you felt begins to lift. Because what once seemed impossible is now being transformed by the power of the Spirit. But there is something even deeper you need to understand about this prayer.
Because Psalm 91 is not just a defense, it is a spiritual key. It unlocks dimensions of protection that few can comprehend. When you recite it with a surrendered heart, you are not just asking for help, you are aligning yourself with the divine power that governs heaven and earth. While the world sleeps and the shadows try to move, the righteous stand up and declare, "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, and in Him I will trust." And at that very moment, something happens. A spiritual vibration sweeps through the air, and everything heavy begins to dissolve. That which was hidden begins to be revealed. For where there is light, no darkness can remain. Many don't understand why spiritual struggle is most intense at night. It's when the mind is vulnerable, the body tired, the silence profound. But it's also when God hears sincere cries most clearly. He hears that whisper that says, "Lord, protect me." He feels the tear that falls even if no one else sees it. And that's when He sends His angels, not one, but legions, to guard every corner of your home, to soothe your sleep with peace, and to dispel every evil force that tries to reach you. Have you ever noticed that some nights feel different? That there's a heaviness in the air, a feeling of oppression, as if something invisible is watching? This isn't imagination. It's a reflection of the battles taking place in the spiritual world. But the good news is that you're not unprotected. When you call upon the name of the Most High and cover yourself with Psalm 91, you become untouchable. Imagine the enemy trying to approach, but encountering a wall of fire. Imagine negative forces trying to launch arrows at you, but being repelled before they even get close. This is exactly what happens when faith becomes your armor. For He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. These words are more than metaphors. They are spiritual declarations. They act as decrees that deactivate invisible traps. Those secret plans, the words of envy hurled into the occult, the heavy energies that lurk in the mind, everything begins to unravel. But there's something many don't do: pray out loud. When you speak, the sound of your voice vibrates in the environment and breaks the spiritual realm. The enemy fears the voice of the righteous because it carries divine authority. Therefore, in this prayer, declare firmly, even if fear tries to silence you. With every word, you are proclaiming, "Here reigns the Most High, and nothing can touch me." Now imagine the scene. It's midnight. The clock strikes 12. Outside, the world sleeps, but inside your home, something awakens. The air changes, the atmosphere transforms. You stand, Bible in hand, eyes closed, and the word is spoken with faith. You shall not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in darkness, nor the destruction that destroys at midday. These phrases echo like thunder in the spiritual world. Demons retreat, bonds are broken, and the Holy Spirit takes control. Because those who pray with faith at this time don't speak alone. They speak with the heavenly hosts. And it's at that moment that you begin to feel something different. A gentle yet powerful presence, a warmth that envelops your body. It's the sign that God is there, listening to you, protecting you, strengthening you. It's as if the Almighty Himself has placed His wings over you, just as the verse says. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. Feel it.
Close your eyes for a moment and visualize this protection. Imagine a golden and white light shining around your bed, expanding to cover every corner of your home. This light is not just symbolic. It is the living energy of God's Spirit. It enters where there was fear and replaces it with peace. It removes anxiety and brings rest. As you pray, something else begins to happen. The enemy who previously watched from a distance is now forced to retreat. Because where there is faith, there are no gaps. And that's exactly what Psalm 91 does. It seals your life, seals your house, seals your soul. But pay attention, the power of this prayer isn't limited to the night. It extends to your days, your paths, and the decisions you make. When you recite Psalm 91, you invite the Almighty to command your steps. And then the impossible begins to happen. What was blocked begins to move. Doors you never imagined open. Situations that seemed lost are restored. And that's when Psalm 91 is a covenant of protection and victory. It doesn't promise an absence of battles, but it guarantees that none of them will defeat you. And if you feel like you're in the midst of an invisible war, emotional, spiritual, or family, know that this prayer was made for this very moment. It's no coincidence that you're here, reading or hearing these words. It's a calling. The Almighty is inviting you to use this key. But there's a part of the psalm that few deeply understand, a part that reveals the ultimate secret of spiritual authority. And that's what we need to talk about next, because once you understand this principle,
because there's a point in Psalm 91 that separates those who merely recite it from those who live the power it carries. It's the moment when faith ceases to be a request and becomes a conviction. When you reach this stage, it's no longer you speaking, it's the Holy Spirit speaking through you. For He will give His angels charge over you to guard you in all your ways. These words are a divine declaration of authority. When spoken in faith, all heaven is moved. Imagine God Himself, the creator of heaven and earth, giving specific orders to the angels. Go, guard this child, protect this house, let no evil touch this heart. Can you feel the weight of this promise? It's not a metaphor, it's a spiritual decree. There are angels assigned to guard you, angels you may never have seen, but who have saved you from accidents, dangers, and attacks you never even noticed. How many times have you strayed from something without knowing why? How many times have you felt an inexplicable urge to change your path? That wasn't a coincidence. It was divine intervention. And it all begins with a prayer, a word spoken at the right time, at midnight when the world sleeps and the spiritual awakens. It is at that precise moment that the angels are mobilized. It is when the supernatural springs into action. You are not alone. Even when circumstances seem bleak, when fear tries to creep in, there is a heavenly legion surrounding you. They will bear you up in their hands so that you will not dash your foot against a stone. It is God saying, I watch your steps, even when you cannot see the way. And it's at this point that many feel something shift within themselves. Their hearts begin to beat differently, the atmosphere becomes lighter, and their soul, previously troubled, now feels peace. This is confirmation that the Almighty is present, that words are not being lost to the void. But there's a secret few know, the power of personal declaration. When you begin to place your name within the psalm, it stops being just a reading and becomes a prophecy about your own life. Try saying, the Lord gave His angels charge over me, to guard me in all my ways. I will dwell in the secret place of the Most High and abide under the shadow of the Almighty. When you do this, something shifts within you. Fear loses its power, your mind becomes calm, faith grows, and the power of the Word manifests itself with even greater intensity. But the enemy knows this, and that's why he tries to distract you, tries to weaken your attention, tries to make you give up.
He wants you to think that praying at midnight is a waste of time, that nothing changes, that evil is stronger. But the truth is the opposite. Evil fears the voice of the one who prays. Evil cannot bear the light of the word. And that's precisely why there's so much resistance when you decide to pray at this time. Because every time you stand up and say, "Today I pray Psalm 91," hell trembles. Prayer at midnight is like a trumpet blast in the spiritual world. It announces, here is a warrior awake. Here is a child of God who does not sleep in the face of evil. The enemy tries to attack with bad dreams, dark thoughts, sudden fatigue, nighttime anxiety, all to stop you from praying. But when you overcome this first obstacle and open your lips, the atmosphere transforms. What was heavy becomes light. What was confusion becomes clarity. Because where the word enters, darkness must leave. And there's more. Every time you pray Psalm 91, you strengthen your spiritual armor. It's as if each night a new layer of light forms around you. This light protects your home, your dreams, your health, your family. It repels evil before it even approaches. How many people live tormented by spiritual attacks without knowing what to do? And all they would need to do is get up at midnight and declare, "No evil will befall me, nor will any plague come near my tent." This phrase is an absolute shield. It cuts through every curse, every destructive energy, every oppressive spirit. When you utter it, it's as if heaven signs a decree of protection over you. But it takes consistency. The power isn't just in praying once, but in remaining faithful. Every night at the same time, even if only for a few minutes, make this connection. It's through this habit that faith grows stronger and miracles begin to multiply. And when the results begin to appear, because they will, you will realize that nothing can shake you. The things that once frightened you will lose their power. You will sleep in peace and wake up refreshed, because the Almighty will be with you in every breath. But there is something even deeper hidden in the final words of this psalm, a spiritual mystery that few can fully grasp. A promise that reveals not only protection, but authority and total deliverance. When this is understood, the believer ceases to be merely protected. He becomes a channel of God's very presence. And it is precisely this secret that I want to reveal in the next part, because it is there that the true climax of this prayer lies, the point where the word ceases to be defense and becomes creative power.
Because at the end of Psalm 91, God Himself speaks. It's no longer the psalmist, no longer the cry of man. It's the Almighty Himself responding. It's the moment when heaven manifests itself and the promise is fulfilled. It's as if, after all the spiritual warfare, the Lord stands up and says, "Because he clings to me in love, therefore I will deliver him. I will protect him, because he has known my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. Long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation." These words are the direct voice of God over your life. It is confirmation that no prayer was in vain, that every midnight cry was heard, and that every tear shed in the silence of dawn was collected by the hands of the Creator Himself. Here lies the most powerful point of all prayer, the moment of divine response. When God says, "I will be with him," it is the seal of the covenant. It is the covenant of protection that cannot be broken, that cannot fail, that cannot expire. Imagine this scene. As you pray, the atmosphere changes. The air seems to vibrate. An invisible presence fills the room. It's the presence of the Almighty. You're no longer just reciting words. You're in direct communion with the Creator. And He looks at you with love and says, "I will deliver you." That's why this prayer needs to be prayed with all your heart, because every word spoken is a seed sown in the spiritual world. And when watered by faith, this seed blossoms into protection, healing, deliverance, and victory. The enemy knows he can't touch those who are covered by this promise, and that's why he tries to distract you, make you doubt, and tire you out before prayer. But today, you won.
You stood up, prayed, declared, and now heaven covers you with its wings. Each night you repeat this prayer, you will be reinforcing this covenant. Fear will lose its power. Anxiety will disappear. Darkness will retreat. Because where there is light, the light of the Word, the light of faith, no darkness prevails. And when the sun rises tomorrow, you will feel something different. A lightness, a deep peace, a true rest. It is the presence of the Holy Spirit renewing your strength. It is the sign that the spiritual war has been won and that you are kept under the wings of the Most High. But remember, this prayer isn't just for tonight. It's a weapon for every day. Whenever you feel the weight of the world, whenever anguish tries to overwhelm you, return to it. Open Psalm 91, take a deep breath, and declare it with faith. The Lord is my refuge and my fortress. No evil will befall me, nor will any plague come near my tent. Let these words echo within you until they become part of your very soul. For he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High lives in peace, even when everything around him seems to be falling apart. And if you've made it this far, it's because something within you has already begun to change. This prayer didn't come to you by chance. It was brought to your hands by a divine purpose. Perhaps today was the day God wanted to remind you that you are not alone, that there is an invisible force fighting for you, and that the impossible can happen when you believe. Now, before we close, make a small act of faith. Close your eyes, place your hand over your heart, and say in a firm voice, Lord, I place myself under your shadow. I declare that no opposing force will touch me. I trust in you and I rest in your protection. Feel His presence enveloping you. Feel peace enter the room, heaviness disappearing, fear melting away. This is the power of the living Word. This is the power of Psalm 91 at midnight. And if you felt something different during this prayer, if the atmosphere changed, if your heart calmed, if a gentle presence filled your home, share it. Share your experience below. Leave a comment sharing your experience. Each testimony is a seed of faith that can awaken someone who is suffering in silence today. Tell us what you felt. Tell us how Psalm 91 touched you. Tell us how the Almighty spoke to you. Because when you testify, you release spiritual power over other lives. Write in the comments, I hide under the wings of the Most High. This will be your public declaration of faith, a spiritual seal that confirms the covenant between you and God. And if you know someone going through difficult nights, share this prayer. Be the channel that brings light to those living in darkness. Because perhaps, through your actions, another soul will find the liberation they've been searching for. Never underestimate the power of the Word. Never doubt what happens when you pray with an open heart. Psalm 91 is not just a protection against evil. It is an invitation to live in communion with the divine every day. So, every time the clock strikes midnight, remember, this is not the time for fear. It is the time for victory. This is the time for spiritual warriors to arise, the time for the Almighty to spread His wings over those who trust in Him. And may you, from this night onward, sleep in peace, walk in safety, and live under the mantle of eternal promise. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High will abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Now, write below what this prayer awakened in you. May this comment section become an altar of faith, light, and testimonies. Because where two or more unite in prayer, God is present. And, if you wish, come back tomorrow at midnight, because there are new promises waiting for you. And the next prayer may open even wider the portals of the impossible. Write now in the comments, I declare Psalm 91 over my life, and receive the peace that comes from the Most High.